Fresh meat.
If I've said it once, I have said it 1,000 times. The 80s were a magical time for horror. Sure, you had the glut of sequels, and more slashers than you could possibly imagine, but it was also a time to experiment and try new things out. Stuart Gordon basically gave us the blueprint on how to make a good H.P. Lovecraft movie. John Carpenter cranked out classic after classic, and Tobe Hooper gave us space vampires. Fucking space vampires! What a time to be alive. In addition to this, much like any other decade in the genre, you would see the trend of jumping in the bandwagon of what's big in pop culture. Enter 976 Evil. Nowadays, the prefix of 976 doesn't really mean much. But in the late 80s, it was a 1-900 of pay service lines. You could call in for your horoscope, clues for video games, help with directory services, and most famously, to get a little bit of verbal sexy time in. 976 Evil follows teenage cousins Spike, a rebellious motorcycle-riding bad boy, and Hoax, a nerdy awkward kid, both who live with Hoax's extremely religious mother. And I'm talking angry, God-fearing Old Testament religious. The two boys separately discover the titular line in which an evil-sounding voice gives them a daily horoscope. Get it? Horoscope?
Sorry.
As well as pushing them into doing progressively more evil acts. At first, it's things like petty theft, leading all the way to straight-up murder. Now, while Spike gets over the calls quickly, Hoax gets deeper into the allure of the power and being in control of his fate for the first time in his life. With each call the number and an evil act committed, Hoax slowly transforms into a demon. This takes place physically, vocally, emotionally, the works, while Spike tries to figure out what's going on with his cousin. Now, in a misguided side plot that was, honestly completely unnecessary, we have the private investigator, Marty Palmer, who is looking into the occurrences that are happening around the town involving these kids. Who hired him? Why is he here? I don't know. He partners up with a school guidance counselor and sets off to solve the mystery or something, I don't know. Because we are never given any context for all this, all of his scenes could have just as easily been seen through the actions of Spike, who would have a genuine interest in figuring out what is going on. But listen, here at the Black Sheep, plot is not always 100% necessary ingredient for a recommended watch. Stephen Geoffreys plays Hoax, while he is mainly known by horror fans as the tragic best friend in Fright Night. But here he really gets to shine, and while his character is similar in that sort of sheepish nerd character, he goes through quite the transformation by the end. It creates a fun little change from what's expected. Spike is shown to be the rebellious risk taker and yet realizes what he is doing is just wrong for wrong's sake, while Hoax, the nerdy kid who was raised to have the strictest of morals, falls off the wagon and hard. Their places are switched, and the story beats move counter to what we'd expect from these characters' archetypes. The rest of the cast is filled with mostly unknowns, and in fact a good chunk of their pictures from IMDb are just stills from this movie or its sequel. The one exception is the Oscar winner in the group, Sandy Dennis, who won a supporting actress statue for Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf. Gets to ham it up as the Jesus-loving mom and aunt to the main teenagers. Besides Geoffrey's Hoax, she is easily having the most fun of the remaining cast here, and really leans into her character. Now let's get to the behind-the-camera action. The director of this movie, making his debut no less, is Freddy Krueger himself, Robert Englund. Now he worked with the likes of Tobe Hooper and Wes Craven, who knew a thing or eight about making a solid horror experience. While he isn't the second coming of Orson Welles here, our guy Robert does more than a fair job piecing together this somewhat ridiculous story and giving us a fun, cohesive experience. It even embraces its hell motif, with nods to the little snacks seen in the background being called Devil Twins, or the theater that is a major location named El Diablo. Brian Helgeland, who would later win an Oscar for writing LA Confidential.
Who in the hell are you?
Ghost of Christmas Past. Did you dance with the man for a change?
What are you, some kind of smartass?
You get him, Crow. Cut his teeth in the horror business. This was only his second script, with his first being Nightmare on Elm Street 4, The Dream Master. Having worked with Englund prior makes this experience gel nicely. Though much of the background color and even dreamlike feel of the town of the film do give off a sort of Elm Street vibe, it was created by Freddy himself, and it works mostly in the film's favor. But to be honest, it does at times feel like we have seen this all before. With a writer and director team that had worked with each other before, and put together such a weird and fun idea, the question is, what happened to make this film fall short of being a classic, or honestly even being all that well known? The big issue, the one that can be linked to every other thing that falls short, is the budget. With nearly half of it cut by financiers, Englund was forced to cut a ton of things. That's why parts of this movie don't feel like they really go anywhere. Characters and plot lines had to be shortened to a degree that they would have almost benefited more from being dropped altogether. Where we really miss out is on the set design and special effects. Throughout the movie, you will notice in some of the scenes that something is a little off. Instead of full outdoor locations, many of the buildings are miniatures, with the actors being shot and edited to look like they are merely outside, and it gets a bit awkward. Another hit the movie took was to the gore. A lot of the script called for gnarly deaths to many of the gang members that Hoax seeks revenge on, but had to be toned down or even changed completely to fit the cost. This is the one time the MPAA isn't f***ing the movie. I mean, some of them are fun, don't get me wrong, but oh, what we could have had. So at the end of the day, what do we have with 976 Evil? A financially tourniqueted production that most of the cast and crew put their whole damn hearts into. Is it a must-see, game-changing 80s horror flick? No. But is it a movie with fun ideas and some good direction by a first-timer, Mr. Krueger himself, that you won't regret giving 90 minutes of your life to? I say it gives enough heart and a fun story to warrant a watch for this unknown genre piece. Here at the Black Sheep, we say a resounding yes. Hey, thanks for watching our show. If you like what you see, please subscribe to our JoBlo Horror Videos channel. Tell your friends you like this sort of content. And turn on the bell, you know the one, to receive notifications for all of our latest videos. You know, we're an independent company, and we appreciate all of your support.